Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm your host, Matt, of the Southern Magic Podcast. And again, we have a new attendee. Today we have Grant.
Hey.
Yeah, this is your first podcast. We've almost gotten everybody on the podcast. I think Drew is the only one that actually hasn't attended yet. But we'll get him on at some point though. But awesome. How's it been? How you doing?
I'm doing all right. My name is Grant Robinson. I go by they and them pronouns. You may have seen me stream, take Amulet to a 4-1 stream. You may have seen me take 4-color domain to a 4-1 stream. Or you probably haven't because I have the most technical difficulties when it comes to streaming. But it's nice to be here. I have a pretty wild work schedule and everything. Just the stars kind of aligned for tonight, so I'm excited to be on. I'm excited to talk to my good buddy Matt about some Magic the Gathering.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, it's originally supposed to have Caleb tonight, but just some life stuff happens, so we're kind of have a skeleton crew tonight, but that is a-okay in my book. Because to be perfectly honest, it's kind of been slow in the world of Magic lately. Not a lot of tournaments, local tournaments that we've have been able to attend have been going on, and we're kind of in the middle of spoilers. Nothing really has jumped out at me.
There are a few things that kind of stuck out to me during spoiler season. There's a new card called Humongous Raptor that, if you don't mind, I'll go over just a little bit because it sparked a little bit of discourse on does this mono green devotion. So Humongous Raptor, it's 2 generic and 2 green for a 5/3 dinosaur with Ward 2, and at the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, add green. And I personally think that this might mono green devotion. I could also see it going in Gruul vehicles because it's a hard to remove creature with a lot of power, but the fact that it like gives you Nykthos mana, I don't know. That's just one thing that's kind of stuck out to me today, at least. But it's an interesting card.
Yeah, I saw that. It looked really cool to me. I really, I don't know if you feel the same way, but like unless I have been consistently playing the deck for a long time, I really feel some hesitancy when it comes to saying like, oh, this would go great in mono green or Lotus Field. Certainly Lotus Field, because I have no idea how that deck, what's good and what's bad in that deck. But like with something like mono green, it feels like it's kind of difficult to find stuff that goes in those decks because just from outside looking in, because I think I play like a explorer variant on Arena, which is just basically the Pioneer version, just way watered down.
And Pioneer's also not been that popular recently.
Mm-hmm.
So and I think that's because some people stipulate that they're really trying to bring Pioneer into Arena, and maybe try and once they bring more Arena tournaments to the forefront, they can like unveil Pioneer on Arena. But
yeah, that's a
Mono Green
long
Devotion
road
is so
too.
tight. Mono Green Devotion is such a tight deck. It's really hard to fit anything into the main deck.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought it was an interesting card because it looks like something that might get added. So
yeah, that's
new with. Hey, go ahead.
I would just say that's actually my thought exactly. Is like it's such a well-oiled machine at this point. Like the last edition I think was Pelucranos, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken, and
and that
even
was an
then,
easy include. That was an easy include, like,
mm-hmm.
but only a 2 of because it's legendary, but it's 3 mana. It's got 3 devotion. It's great into removal, like
Yeah.
But anyways, Matt, I hear you have some very interesting. You have some very fun news for the podcast tonight. Why don't you let me know what happened, Matt?
Oh yeah, so your boy Matt is Mr. Matt now. Well, no, that kind of sounds more like I'm a dad. I'm engaged. So
Yes.
we're my partner Krista and I, we've been together for a while now. Probably longer than necessary, and we just decided we should just go for it. So we are engaged now. So I am no longer on the market, ladies. I'm sorry. But well, I
Congratulations,
wasn't on the
Matt.
market to begin with. I shouldn't say that, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean.
Regardless, congratulations, Matt. I'm
Thank you.
really proud of you. I wish you guys the best. I figured we'd start off the night by having me rant a little bit about some standard challenges that happened over the weekend.
Yes, please do.
So,
Yeah, I'm not to
um,
cut you off. I have not, be honest. I have completely not been paying attention to standard basically until this past week since we've gotten those sweet spoilers that's piqued my interest in playing it. So please take it away.
So, I guess I'm the standard person of the podcast because I've been playing a lot of it. I've been playing a lot on Arena off camera. I played a league of four color control. But there's some really interesting stuff in standard, at least right now, at the end of this little season where we're waiting for another set to come out. So on the 10th, or no, excuse me, on the 28th, uh, last Saturday. It was a challenge where we had one, two, three, four Azorius Soldiers decks make the top eight, three four-color decks make the top eight, and one red deck wins deck make the top eight. Um, and it's really wild to me. And I just kind of want to point this out that also on that Sunday challenge, there were let me pull it up real quick. On the Sunday challenge, there were five soldiers decks,
Hmm.
and then one RDW and two Esper decks. And so I think this is really interesting. Um, Kind of challenge results because previously the week before or maybe another week ago before that, it seemed like four color control was just dominating the meta. There were two different challenges where it just was like six, seven decks in the top eight of a challenge. It was all over the leaderboard. It was all over the leagues. And now it's like in response to that, all of these challenges have soldiers decks, which are really, really good against the four color decks. It's kind of like it feels like standard is a really fun format right now, in my opinion.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of people should at least make an attempt to play it because it kind of feels like a weird rock paper scissors sort of format where you've got Azorius soldiers that beats four color beats Esper, and Esper beats soldiers.
Hmm.
I don't know. It's just a really interesting kind of dichotomy going on, and then also you've got red decks, you've got these Golgari mid-range decks, you've even got blue tempo, you've got some. It's really interesting.
Well,
Um,
it's funny you say that too because uh, you referenced the rock paper scissors aspect of it. I mean, ideally, that's how all healthy formats should be. In the past, that was
mhm.
kind of how you gauge the healthiness of the format, and that's just not something that we have in certainly not in modern. Um, you can make an
Oh yeah,
argument
no,
you can make an argument for Pioneer being pretty diverse and this beats this, but that beats this, and then this beats this, and it just kind of goes in a circle like that. I don't think you have that in
hmm
modern, certainly, because Rakdos is just continues to be obnoxiously large in the game percentage of it.
yeah, it's modern's in a weird space right now, where it feels like you got so many different like decks. You've got such a massive card pool, but everything just kind of like wells up at these few cards. And
Mhm.
I don't want to sound like I'm a doomsayer here, but like all of the pitch elementals, orcish bowmasters. It just feels like that's the conglomeration where modern just kind of like gets sucked into this giant black hole
Yeah.
of like those 6 cards. And then you've got Amulet Titan, which uses none of those. And Amulet Titan, it's weird, and maybe I'm biased, but it feels like Amulet Titan is uh, the savior of modern. And maybe I'll be crucified for that, but um, it doesn't use any of the pitch elementals. It doesn't. The only like Modern Horizons 2 cards it uses are Urza Saga, and even that like or Force of Vigor, and even then Force of Vigor has kind of come out. It feels like Amulet Titan is the last kind of bastion of pure modern, as some people would say,
Mhm.
where it's like Amulet Titan's the only deck that's still putting up results in modern, where it's kind of like the old guard a
Yeah.
bit,
It
where
hasn't
like
changed. Yeah, it doesn't need
I mean,
to.
yeah, oh,
That's
it's changed, but like the cards have changed, but the formula hasn't.
mhm.
Where it's. I mean, it's got endurance, but the whole premise of the deck is not based around endurance. It's
Right.
got Urza Saga, and you could make an argument that the premise of the deck is around Urza Saga, but it's not. Urza Saga is Amulet of Vigor on suspend. And that's really
Okay.
all it's been for the deck since the day it was printed. And yeah, you can kind of pump out constructs, but now with the Mycosynth Gardens, it really is just kind of like, all right, I've got 3 amulets on turn 3. Let's get her done.
Yeah.
But
No, I
modern,
can no,
yeah, go ahead.
I don't no, I don't disagree with that. I think that Amulet Titan, while I am still undoubtedly a very, very good deck and perfectly fine choice to well, if you're trying to get into the format, head first,
Yeah, I would
maybe
not
work
recommend.
up to
I would not
Amulet.
recommend an amulet. If this is your
Yeah.
first time playing modern, I would not play amulet at all. Um, but I mean, it's modern's in a weird spot, and I know a lot of people doomsay, but if we look at the modern challenge from last Saturday, 8 different decks in the top 8,
Mhm.
8 completely different decks in the top 8. First place was Scam, second place was Living End, third place was Yawgmoth, fourth place was Tron, fifth place was Amulet Titan, sixth place was the 4-color Money Pile with the Cascade into Beanstalk deck. Seventh was Rhinos, and eighth was Living End. It was okay. So there are 2 Living End decks in the top 8, but it's 7 different decks
Right.
in the Modern Challenge. Um, and then let me take a look at the but you go back to the one on Saturday on the 28th, and it's 5 scam and, well, 6 scam, but one of them splashing green.
Yeah.
Um,
For I think it's just the druid card, that questing druid or something.
do you remember Esper Stone, or not Esper, but even like Orzhov Stone Grief Blade from like back when Modern Horizons 2 got printed, where everyone was like, "Oh, this is the deck. Oh, this is the deck,"
Oh, like
and then it
ephemerate
just
your
fell out of
grief.
favor. Yeah, it fell out
Yeah.
of favor because the games that you could not lose was Evoke Grief, Ephemerate Grief, turn 1. And to me, that's the same thing with Scam. Is like the Scam's best plays are, I'm going to evoke a grief and bring back a grief on turn 1. I'm going to reanimate it's like Reanimator.
Yeah.
I think if people start looking at it like Reanimator, but also having a fair package, it's a little more beatable, in my
Mhm.
opinion. Also, just buy Dismember. Just play Dismember. Dismember
Yeah.
is such a like if they go Fury you on turn 1, you just dismember it, and we're all
Mhm.
we're all hunky dory. Just
Yeah, I've been seeing Dismember getting ticked up in a lot of other decks too. I saw because I'm a Murktide head, so I've
mhm.
been seeing some Murktide lists like dropping like the third bolt for like a Dismember. So it's the removal package is like 2 bolts, 4 Unholy Heats, 1 Dismember is kind of what I've been seeing floating around.
uh,
It just feels so
uh,
weird to not play at least 3 bolts though. So
it's just getting pushed out of the format.
it really is.
Well, in the everywhere but burn, it's getting pushed out of the format.
Yeah.
I
But
think Rhino's been playing 4 dismembers in the sideboard recently as well, which is wild. Speaking of spiking tournaments, um, this is a great segue into our next segment. And whoa, perfect! That was
that is amazing timing.
that's great. I like paused so that there would be a stop in the video to like cut, so we can like cut, so I can take a break and
No,
check on my chili.
that's staying
Oh,
in. Oh, okay. Oh, dang.
damn.
Which
Well,
leads us to our point, Caleb.
that leads us to our next point.
Caleb.
I feel like we've kind of said our piece about competitive Magic at this point. So let's talk about like just some fun stories. Let's have fun with this little 3-man episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, totally. I'm always down for that. Yeah, since we're on kind of a lull, it's I think it's perfectly fine to talk about this stuff, honestly. So, rituals.
I know, you know, Magic players of card games have, you know, we're a little superstitious. You know, we have to cut a deck a certain way. We have to shuffle our deck a certain way. You know, putting cards. Let's have a little fun with it. Do you guys have any sort of weird superstitions, any weird rituals before you go to a tournament?
One thing I do is
Yeah.
I do
Doo-doo.
one thing I do is I never sort a deck uh at the tournament. Like every time I'm creating or writing out a deck list, I have always sorted everything out and gotten all the numbers down the night before, and I just have like a Google like a notes app on my phone, and I just write out the deck list there. If possible, I fill out a deck list beforehand. But more often than not, I don't have any extra deck lists. So I just like write the entire list out. So that way I can just go in, pick up a deck list, look at my phone, write it all down, and then I'm good to go. It's only ever resulted in me missing a card one time, and it was Sockensen. I remember that card well. I did not write down Sockensen, Crucible of Fire.
Oh
Um,
my god.
but every other time it's been fine. It's just like for me, it kind of alleviates a lot, like the stress of like, okay, I gotta sort out everything, and then I've got to write all the numbers down, and then I've got to shuffle it really well because hopefully I won't get like a mana pocket or draw 4 of the same card accidentally or something. So I just do all that shit beforehand. That's probably like the number one ritual that I do, and I also don't change any cards the day of. Drake, Drake Sasser, was the one who said this, and I do agree with it. Um, was the night before a tournament is for tweaking all the dials and turning the knobs and stuff like that. Um, and making last minute changes. If you make changes the day of, like 5 minutes before the tournament, it's probably just going to throw off your entire sideboard or your main board plan in some way. So, uh, that's another thing that I try not to do is making day of changes if at all possible.
That's a really I like that. I like that little last bit of advice there at the end. The night before is the time for tweaks. That's good. That's really good advice. Uh, I know it's funny you mentioned Sokenzan because I've got 2 cards that I'll never forget because of deck errors. Um, well, never mind. I just forgot one of them.
Oh,
But
I started a
the
I went to a legacy term with 8 Force of Wills one time.
there was the most recent was the BCS where I had two Selesnya sanctuaries instead of one in my deck, and I had 2 Gruul Turfs and I had 1 Gruul Turf instead of 2. Uh, that was that one was kind of wild, but there was it's a 1 white. It's a instant that's like 1 white. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. It was in Boros Heroic like a couple of years ago, and I just forgot to write down 4 of them. So,
Well,
what about you, Caleb? Do you have any weird rituals?
Yeah. Not weird, I guess. People would not associate me with it, I guess. Uh, so I always listen to very aggressive West Coast rapper hip hop. It's like my pre-tournament. It's like I listen to a lot of hip hop in general, but normally it's more like East Coast centric. But for some reason, I just like the like hype up like the Bay Area rap, like Too Short and Tyga now, and rappers now are kind of going back to that Bay Area sound, and like so I just play like the most aggressive rap I can find, just because I'm like this is my pump up because like I have a lot of trouble with like sleeping and especially like insomnia bouts and stuff like that. And so I have to kind of like rev up to like think properly. And so that's how normally I'm like in my car, like just like slamming or like bouncing and rapping aggressively and like, all of that. So that's my like warm up, I guess. And then my like night before, like the only other like I guess quirky thing I do is I don't touch my deck. Like I'm not playing magic, I'm not thinking magic. I don't care what Morgan's 15th sideboard card is for his deck. Like I don't magic. Like I'm done with it. Cause like tomorrow's gonna be like 9-10 hours if it's like a GP or an SCG. And like I conserve, I don't want to expend my thought process towards anything other than my matches of magic the next day. So
I like that. I like that. Speaking of music, I have a weird. I definitely have one of those music rituals where the day of a tournament, the only thing I will listen to before I get there is Ghost, the metal band
yeah.
Ghost. It's like like if it's a 3 hour drive, I'll just put up like a bunch of their albums and just listen to them all the way through. I don't know what it is. It's just a weird like it happened to me one time where I did all of that and I got like first place, no intentional draws. I played every single one of my games. And so now it's just kind of like a okay, well, I'm just going to do this from now on. Maybe it'll bring me luck. And then another pre-tournament ritual that's very specific. If I am driving to an event that day, like not like we got a hotel and we're walking there. If I'm driving there, I will stop by a Taco Bell and I will get a sausage crunch wrap, breakfast crunch wrap. That is the only thing I will eat through the whole tournament. It's just that the either one or two has got to be Taco Bell the breakfast crunch wrap. That's what I eat. And
so you
then
Respectable choice on non-tournament days.
so you
Love that.
can make sure that you have to have that you can get a bathroom break to Google your opponent's name and see what deck they're on.
no, it's just I don't know something about
That is next level. If that's the choice. Judge, I'm about to have diarrhea. Okay, let's see what is
You know, I've got bowel problems, but those are the only things from Taco Bell that don't get me in the bathroom. But it's more like it's just like high protein. It tastes good, plenty of carbs. It just lasts me until well into top 8, and then I'm like, oh shit, I need a snack. Another really interesting one. So when opponent presents me to cut a deck, I will like I'll shuffle like if it's real serious like a GP or something like that, I'll shuffle their deck. But whenever I cut, I have to do the Ohio Sidewinder. This is what I call it. You take like a third of the deck and put it down. You take the second third and put it on top of the first third, and then you put it on, and then you put those 2 thirds and put it on the bottom third. So the bottom third of the deck stays the same, but you essentially swap the first third and the second third. And I will always cut like that, and I stand by that rule. I have the most people mulligan their hands against me doing that whenever I do that to them. And I recorded it one time where I think it was just some like I don't think it was a BCS, but it was like some 1K or something where all of my matches I did that, and every opponent mulliganed at least one time after cutting their deck like that.
Hmm.
So those are my weird tournament rituals that I have.
This is, man, I don't know if I should say this or not. If there's a deck check, if we get deck checked, I don't cut, because in my mind, uh since the deck was sorted, I want to have a higher chance for them to have a bad draw. It's completely optional. Like, I'm not breaking any rules. It's just like,
all right. So now that poses the question: is that genius or is that grifter?
Both. It's definitely got elements of grifter, for sure. But that's my dirty little scummy side that I have. Yeah, anytime a deck check happens where any kind of sorting's done, I'll shuffle mine, present it to cut. They offer it, I'm like, nah, you're good. I trust you.
You're good. You're good. It's okay.
I trust you.
We'll keep those cards where they're at. Oh man. I love local tournaments. Like us being in the South and primarily in Alabama, Alabama doesn't really have a very we never got SCGs, we never got like any sort of. The only thing we have is the Gear Gaming Birmingham Championship Series. We got excuse me. We got it once.
One SCG Invitational a year before I started playing Magic. And that was it.
Oh no, it was an SCG Classic. We got an SCG Classic in Birmingham. I have a really interesting story about this one.
Please.
So I'm huge brewer early on in my competitive Magic streak, and it was Innistrad had just come out, right? So like that's where I got into competitive. Was right at the end of like Jason, Callblade, and all that had finally died off. Magic's kind of starting to heal. People are moving on. And just big on brewing. I was playing a lot of flash decks and doing pretty well with them at the time, like Huntmaster of the Fells, kind of a flash-ish deck, like a 4-color flash around that, with Restoration Angel and stuff like that. So a weird techie deck. I didn't want to work real hard. It was a super busy tournament. I was like, God, I'm gonna like go and just like 0-4. Like don't have a lot of confidence, right? And a friend of mine that's riding up, because I'm living in Florence at the time, so I drive there the night before from Birmingham, because it's my like first year in college at UAB, and they're like, "Hey, do you want to go to Birmingham tomorrow for an SCG?" And I'm like, "Why not? Let's go." So I bring the deck, and in the car, they're like, "Guys, like this Abzan Reanimator deck, it's great." Blah blah blah. I'm like, okay. So I get to Florence, I put it together. I'm like, man, I feel like I'm missing something. Brian Braun-Duin released an article for SCG saying, this Abzan Reanimator deck, it's fantastic. Here's my plan. I message him on Facebook. I'm like, hey, loved your article. I'm going to Birmingham, playing this thing. Any tips, any texts? What am I missing here? Like, your article's a good introduction, but what's like the next level? He responds. We go for like 3 hours back and forth of just like, hey, yeah, like, this matchup, yeah, if you expect a lot of this, probably shave on this out of your sideboard. It gives me great insight. I'm feeling really ready, really confident in Abzan Reanimator. We get there. Round 1, Brian Braun-Duin. And I was like, huh. Okay. So I sit down the crossroads and I'm like, Jan Reanimator? He's like, oh yeah. I was like, thank you for all the conversation yesterday. He's like, you're welcome. I lose, 0-2. I'm like, all right, well, got that one out of the way. Mm-hmm. Like, we're looking up. Round 2, Todd Anderson. I was like, God, okay. I sit down right beside me, Brad Nelson on Reanimator.
You played
and
against the entire
he
Versus series
goes,
crew.
he goes, he goes, yeah, we tested against Reanimator a lot because BBD's been really high on it. I was like, uh-huh.
Oh,
Yeah.
Try and win, lose 2-1. I'm like, okay, well, one more round. I play the mirror. Just someone else was like, I read Brian Braunduin's article. It looked really fun. It's like,
I
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm never bringing a net deck again.
I
And my
remember.
friend ended up top 32 again with my flash deck, which was fun. He
Hey,
now
that's
owns For the
awesome.
Win Games. Shout out Dylan Harris.
Oh, hell yeah.
That I remember that classic. Actually, I attended that too. I was that was the first big tournament that I had attended to. I was on some ass version of Rakdos Zombies that I had put together, because that was my uh I have fond memories with Falconwrath Aristocrat and Gravecrawler, because that was the first actual deck that I spent the paltry amounts I was making on the weekends in high school putting together, because I worked for my family's restaurant, and I was making, just dirt money for a kid in high school. But I saved up enough money to buy a set of grave crawlers, a set of blood crypts, a set of Falconwrath Aristocrats, and then some other stuff that was kind of cheap. Falconwrath Aristocrats $20 a piece at that point, which is,
Ooh.
well, I mean, when we're talking about,
Aristocrats Act. Ooh,
yeah, I
love
mean,
that deck.
yeah, Falconwrath, yeah, the Aristocrats deck. But I played her in Rakdos Zombies, and like I was playing Rakdos Cackler too, just like
Oh
some
yeah.
like
Oh
some
yeah.
yeah uh yeah,
Rakdos Cackler.
such a great card. But yeah, I remember going that, and I ended up like, I can't remember how many rounds it was. I ended up like 3-4 or something. Like, I mean, I was like, yeah, this is my first tournament ever. I was stoked that I just got 3 wins. I kind of went into it with the same expectation of like, I'm just going to completely bomb this tournament and like go home. And my mom dropped me off too. That was
Oh.
I was
So,
I was at that kind of transitional age. I think it was like 17 or something, where you're trying to act more like an adult. You're like, okay, I'm almost 18 years old. I've got to start behaving more mature and acting like an adult, or at least I thought that way. And I thought I had been doing pretty good, but when my mom pulled up to the BJCC and I got out, she said, "Have a good day at your tournament, sweetie," and drove off. I was like, man, I feel like I'm 10 again.
I got
I love my
I
mom though.
got
She's
two
awesome.
I got 2 points. Shout out first shout out to like supportive parents. I've only been playing since like the end of first Dominaria, the when they brought Richard Garfield back to like design the Dominaria set. I've been playing since the end of that, and um so the first time that I qualified, they released the rules, and the first time I qualified for the RC, the first RC in Atlanta, I texted my parents about this, and they're like, "Oh, that's awesome! Congratulations! You know, that's a wonderful opportunity." And then all of a sudden, like instead of getting the "Hey, how you doing?" it was, "Hey, have you been practicing? Hey, have you been practicing for the tournament?" I'm like, "Whoa,
That's really cool.
whoa!" It's
That's
like
awesome.
a swift change. It felt like I was like in high school and they were telling me to like practice like
Get
whatever,
on that
like
violin, Grant.
yeah, start
Yeah.
fucking practicing your
You have
instrument.
Did you do your
you have a
scales?
recital.
Your ass better be first chair by the end of the by the end
Your
of
ass better fucking win that $30,000. But that was such a shout out to parents who support their children playing this children's card game. And then my second point, Rakdos Cackler has a very unique and wonderful place in my heart as a Magic card, because when I first started playing Magic, before, like back in high school, I was playing with some friends of mine, like at the kitchen table. We didn't even know local game stores existed. We bought cards from Target.
Mhm.
Um, and the first deck I ever made was a Rakdos aggressive deck, and I remember I finally had pulled my fourth Rakdos Cackler, and I was like, I'm gonna crush my
You got
buddies the
there.
next time we come play. And then I show up, and my buddy's got my buddy was like, yeah, turns out there's like some places online that you could buy cards. So I bought some cards. He shows up with like blue white control. And like four, like four of the what is it, the X blue white gain life and draw card.
Sphinx's
Sphinx's
Rev.
Revelation. Yep.
Yeah, he shows up with like four Sphinx's Revs and
I-
like
I
Supreme
played-
Verdicts, and I'm like,
I played the shit out of that card when it was in standard.
I'm like, are you kidding? Like, this was Gate Crash. This was back in Gate Crash. And I was like, are you kidding me? I literally only have one Spike Jester. What the fuck am I supposed to do?
Mhm.
But
I think just kind of going off of your point about bringing up Rakdos Cackler, I have to, if we're talking about pet cards, if I had to just for pure nostalgia's sake point to what my favorite card in the game was for the longest time, it would be Sphinx's Revelation, because I also built Esper Control or Blue White Control back in the day. Nothing made you feel like you have won the game more than like just playing a bunch of lands, countering all their stuff, and then just immediately just tapping 9 and just Sphinx for 6. You know, you gain 6 life, you draw 6 cards, you basically just won the game back then. Nowadays, it's not. I mean, that's still good, but like you're still very much vulnerable by today's standards. But it just felt so good back then.
Matt, I have something for you from 16-year-old Grant.
Okay.
Fuck you.
Oh, I got plenty of those. I got plenty of that at the LGS we had. I got many salty teenagers like telling me I fucking hate that card. It's a card so fucking stupid.
I think I still have my Rakdos Cackler somewhere, and my one Spike Jester from Gate Crash that I've held on to since those are the cards. Everything else, I had like some crap. Like, I had some really bad cards in this deck, but the 5 cards that I've held on to were 4 Cacklers and my one Spike Jester. It's a Spike Jester is it's a black and a red, 3/1 haste. That's it.
Yep.
It's got 3 power, 1 toughness.
Completely cracked back then.
Just cracked, baby. Just turn 1 Cackler Unleash, turn 2 Jester, swinging for 5 on turn 2. What are you gonna do? What are you?
Caleb,
I think though.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say. I think actually no. Let Caleb go, because I can't. I've got to think about like what my pet card is, because I've had a couple. My favorite pet card though.
Yeah, I was just going to ask Caleb, since we're kind of on the topic of like good but not amazing cards that kind of tickle your heartstrings. Are there any in your past that kind of stand out to you? Like
Oh
that?
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I think I'm at least contiguously the longest playing member of Southern Magic. So I learned, my brother's 10 years older than me, and he was playing in high school with his buddies when I was 5. So it was like 2000. And he taught me the rules, and I just kind of have always played since in some way or another. So it's been like touch points in the game, right? Like I can remember like top tier decks that if you look at the cards, it's like, what? why was this
Yep.
able to win anything?
Yep.
And like things like that.
Look at
So,
any legacy deck from like that period. It's like,
oh yeah.
this is ass. This is garbage. You win with Icy Manipulator and Tundra.
Yes. Yeah. So like in that vein, I have like eras because it's like hard to be like, well, this card's old, so it's this kooky crappy card. But like my pet card, like the card that I just always love and will always try to rationale a way out is Ghost Quarter. Like
Okay.
like that's like one of my all-time favorite cards. Like I love Ghost Quarter because that effect was so like like I would play Legacy and it'd be Wasteland and Dominant and I'd love it. And I always was like, God, if I could just have that feeling in type 2, that would be amazing. And then eventually Standard and Modern kind of branched off. But during the time of Kessig Wolf Run,
Oh,
Ghost
Yep.
Quarter was brought back. And that was just the
oh,
perfect like, oh, chef's kiss. We brought it back. It's in Standard again. We're Ghost Quartering, and just any deck that could pack it, I was running that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it got to the era where it was like blue black control, no win con, and you had Nephalia Drown Yard activations is how you beat people. And so if you could Ghost Quarter their Drown
Yep.
Yard, they lose. And so
I
I
remember
played Freak with
Nephalia
Ghost
Drown
Quarter,
Yard too. Oh man.
which was like a
Caleb, if
Mardu
you
goofy deck.
if you love Ghost Quarter, I have a deck for you that I've been working on for a while. I call it the Mean Green Machine, and I have
Oh,
run people out of basics with it. I have run people with more than 6 basics in their deck with this deck. It's
awesome.
very, very fun. Uh Real quick, Kessig Wolf Run Standard Era, best Pro Tour of all time. Pro Tour Dark Ascension.
I agree.
Just got to drop that in there. Please, viewer, go watch the whole. Don't even watch the top 8. Watch the whole tournament.
Mm-hmm.
That tournament was sick. Pro Tour Dark Ascension, Honolulu, Hawaii. So
Yep.
fucking good. I'll go back and watch it like every month or so. It's just such a good tournament to watch.
There was around that time, maybe a little bit afterwards, the World Championship. Maybe it was 2013. I don't think it was 2014. World's 2013. It was where Blue White Flash was the deck to play in Standard, and Blue White blue not Blue White Flash, Jeskai Flash in Modern and Jeskai Control in
Oh,
Standard were like the top decks. Alongside Jund was really good in Standard too. I loved watching that tour for those reasons. Like if anyone were to, if anyone wanted to like peek inside my brain and see like what my idea of the most fun you could have playing Standard was, it was that tournament. Like every Standard deck looked so fun and so fair and balanced. Um, and this kind of sounds like a boomer talking about it, but like, man, I miss those days when like Kessig Wolf Run, Huntmaster, Farseek, like that was the most cracked thing you could be doing. And
I
yeah,
I hate to point this out, but honestly, bringing it back a little bit, that's kind of how Standard right now feels to me. It feels really it feels like the decks that are at the top are just really fun to play, and there's definitely some like tier 1.5 tier 2 decks that are still also very fun. I think uh, bringing the rotation, making it a 3-year rotation, increases the card pool, increases the amount of decks that can get played.
mm-hmm.
My pet card. Oh god. I've I've had a couple. I feel like I've had more card nemesises than I've had pet cards in my life. There's only one card that I can think of that's really like I tried to squeeze that bitch into everything that I played. Um and I can't. I want to say it was like History of Benalia because I just loved that card. I love that card. I hate the person who drew that card. That guy is a loser. But History of Benalia was such a sick card that I still wanted to like. I was like, I'm gonna try and see if I can fit this into Modern. After it rotated out, didn't work. But my card Nemesises, the cards that I hate the most, I have a lot of those. Plague Mare. It was an uncommon horse from standard core set. That was my nemesis because I was playing standard tokens, and my buddy Drake would always play that card against me, and I hated him. Uh, Ashiok, the Ashiok from War of the Spark, where you can't search. It became a meme at my local game store in Troy where I just didn't recognize the card existed. Like someone would be like, "Hey, what's this card?" And I was like, "What do you just have your hands up like this? There's nothing in your hand. What are you talking about?" um, Blood Moon. Blood Moon was a hated card of mine for a while.
Like all anti-Titan cards, basically, is what it sounds like.
Yeah. Cards that
I
make
mean,
sense.
I wouldn't. I mean, me personally, I wouldn't say that. If I were you, I wouldn't say that. But I'm not disproving that. and one tokens card. That was the Plague Mare. Magic's a fun game.
Cards. I'm trying to think actually on that, like an older one that gave me fits. Oh, there's been so many. I mean, I honestly, if we're winding the clocks back, nothing really in standard. Or no, okay, I take that back. Azorius Charm. I got my ass blown out by that fucking card so many times when I was playing Rakdos Zombies, because it would be like swing for lethal, Azorius Charm. So I lose an attack. I lose 2 turns basically because I lose an attack. I'm drawing that card and I'm playing it, and then I have to attack next turn. Man, that is the earliest card I can remember that I was like, I can't stand this card. I hate the sight of it. Everything about it makes me angry. I've grown up now to where the most loathed card that I have now is Urza Saga, but back then it was the much more tame Azorius Charm that I could not stand.
Urza Saga's fine. Urza Saga's a great card.
It is a great card. It's a very good card.
I think my big nemesis, I really only have one. It's a long tusk cub.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
I hate that card. I hate him. I spent 2 full PPTQ seasons and this was when I was very heavily playing, like in full swing, like every weekend, both tournaments every weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And just the volume of teamer energy, or even Soul Tire 4-color energy once Scarab God came out and things like that. Like just that card every time. Turn 2, if it's bad, I won't draw it. If it's the perfect threat, I'll draw it. Like once I already have 6 energy, that's when I'll peel it. Like just constant, like that card haunts me. I played Approach the entire time. I literally, my first PPTQ win ever was I played Approach at Crimson Castle in Tuscaloosa, and every single round was energy.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just played 8 straight energy matches.
That's what you get for playing Approach.
And I won. And I actually, my finals opponent, I really wish I could remember his name. He signed my Approach for me because I played out of my mind, like the whole day, like just perfect, like probably the best I've ever played. Was just that day. It was that right after the Alabama LSU game, and it just was perfect. Like I just didn't make a mistake all day. Like it just everything was good.
That's like the secret to Alabama players. You have to know when the University of Alabama has won a college football game
They
because
lost
there's
that
a lot of it.
one. Even better. Then they're
That's what, if it's college football season, uh, people from the South, we just got like some crazy fucking mojo going on.
oh
Mhm.
yeah. Oh yeah.
I remember playing out of my mind in like a BCS. I think it was the first BCS of this season. That me, Josh, and Drew won. We were the Gingerbread Crew. I want to say it was like I was on Pioneer Sacrifice. That was the one we won. I played out of my mind all day on that. I was like I like the gif of like Zach Galifianakis with like the like computing all the numbers and stuff. That was
Mhm.
me like the whole day. I was like, all right, if I do this, and this, I have them one away from lethal. So what can I do to like, oh, I forgot about this thing. That'll give me exactly 1 point to get them lethal. Or like, oh, I was playing against Wayne and I predicted that he had an Embercleave. And I was like, I have the perfect plan. I'm just gonna play a land, do nothing, no attacks, no nothing. And he was like, go to attack. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna put a block here and a block here. And he was like, well, I'm gonna have to Embercleave this one. And I was like, ooh, just fucking blew him out with
Mhm.
like blocks. And I was like, I was out of my mind insane that day.
No, it's always great when you have those like Rain Man esque tournaments where you just are able to see to predict everything that's going to happen. Like it. I feel like they're few and far between unless you're just completely like a pro where you know the entire format and every deck backwards and forwards. Um, but yeah, the days where that happens, it's very nice. I'm trying to think if there's any um for me where I'm just firing on all cylinders. Like I it was probably with either Delver or Murktide or like Ramonap Red. Like those are the ones that I've played and had the most
There were,
success with.
I can actually point to, I think there was one legacy like event that I watched you play Delver at, and you were you might not have done well, but like your thinking and like the way that you were playing, I was like, oh, Matt's fucking the gears are turning, the fucking steam engine's fucking he's firing on all cylinders on this one. It was like some legacy side event, I think at Dallas. But you were going. I thought you were going crazy that day.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. Thank you for the appreciation, but yeah, the side events. Uh, I usually do pretty good, like just churning out side events. Mostly because I think a lot of the people that play side events are the ones that probably just drop from the main event, so that helps. But yeah,
Like no, the people who play side events are the ones that drop from the main and day two event.
yeah, I'm
They
I'm
dropped from the main event. They didn't make it in the day two event. They're like, all right, well, let me just
not,
pick up some side events.
not even
Fucking
going.
Matt the Punisher Krause and not today, son.
Not even gonna lie, that's probably gonna be me at Eternal Weekend. Like it's I might just do side events all weekend long. That have y'all seen
Yeah,
the
just
prices for the tournament entries and stuff?
oh my god.
$90 to play in the main event, one of the main events, and you have to pay $60 just to get into the venue, just for a pass. It
Bro,
I was like, good God Almighty, that's so bad.
Watsy, please support legacy players. Please. They're dying.
No, they're like they got money. They're playing Legacy. They got money. Probably
You're
that.
playing Sanction? Oh, it's Sanctioned Legacy? Oh, no, they have plenty of money for
Yeah,
that.
yeah, absolutely.
uh, I want to do a really fun thing. I know we're at desks, and I know we're Magic players, so I know you've got Magic cards on your desk. Let's do a little thing where pull out a card that you've got just laying around on your desk and show the camera. I guess I'll be the first to go. My card for the evening for the sign off is my foil Commander Master's portrait, Azusa Lost but Seeking. It's really hard to do this card justice, like over video or over pictures. It's just such a good card. She looks so good. The artist is Benjamin just EE. Just did such an amazing job with this card. I love it. I love every time I play it in Titan.
Nice. I do like that. I do like those arts on that. All right. We can let Caleb, since you had to go on a quest for yours, so we'll let you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, to tie it all together, here's my signed approach. That
Nice.
my finals opponent signed for me to commemorate winning a competitive tournament for the first time. That wasn't just like FNM,
Nice.
even though PPTQs kind of ended up eventually being basically like FNM. And then as far as pet cards, my Portuguese foil airbrush altered artist sign Blightning. Because Blightning is like one of my top, like my favorite cards. Obviously, it's aged out quite a lot, but Bloodbraid Elf was cascading into Blightning for quite a while in standard as well as extended formats for a little while.
That shit is hot. That shit is hot.
I actually have 3 kind of funny cards to show, if that's okay. So mine that I'm actually really proud of, that I've had forever, that I played a ton of, is my set of Future Sight Tarmogoyfs signed by Reed Duke. And you probably can't see it with the camera, but these bad boys are beat to hell and back, because I played these long. But yeah, I can't really play with this anymore, but man, I played the hell out of these cards in Jund.
Damn.
But yeah, so those are kind of like my cool little collector's items that I'm never going to get rid of, because like even if they weren't damaged, with the signature, they're just like almost to the point of being damaged at this point. So they're pretty
those
bad.
are hot, though. Those are hot.
Thank you.
That gives me nostalgia. That was my first traveling tournament with Matt. Was when he got those signed.
Oh yeah, it was. That's right. I forgot you went on that one too. That's awesome.
Quick tangent at RC Atlanta from last year. We got there and I was walking to see if I could find like an energy drink or coffee, and I saw some dude walking with like a coffee in their hand, and I looked up and I was about to say, "Hey, where'd you get that coffee?" And I looked up and it's just fucking Reed Duke strolling by. I just kind of I froze up for a second, and I never found out where the coffee was, but
So this is another kind of pet card of mine. When I was playing Teamer Delver a lot, and Hooting Mandrills have played in it, I got like the apes of the Birmingham Magic area to sign my Hooting Mandrills. So we've got Will's signature right here, Brandon's signature is right here, Anthony signed one, and Wayne signed one. So those are kind of funny. Again, don't really get to play it a lot. And this one is probably the weirdest one that I have. I need a Jace the Mind Sculptor. For, I think I was playing Miracles in Legacy. I needed a couple of Jaces. So I just like did what a lot of broke people do, and I just went like cheapest lowest price plus shipping sort, and this was the number one. It is a From the Vault 20 Jace the Mind Sculptor signed by Joe Lossett.
Joe Lossett, holy shit!
I have no idea why he signed it. Why someone got him to sign it? I guess it's because he played Miracles. But I have tried to like trade this card and sell it before for credit, and nobody wants it. So it's just my Joe Lossett signed Jace that I have now. That's just chilling in my deck box.
I'm pretty sure he's still grinding events. You could probably find him and be like, "Hey Joe, you want this?"
Yeah,
he commentates the NRG series. So you
Yeah,
could maybe run into him if you feel like going up
I,
to the Midwest for
yeah,
a 2 day.
I want to see him at an event and just get the story behind this because I just feel like it was probably some like starstruck Miracles where it was like, oh, that's Joe Lissette, that's awesome. Can you sign my Jace for me, please? And like that's
But
probably the
you
that's
know what
oh
would be
Joe
really,
Lissette, he's so cool.
you know what would be really funny if that was Joe's card and he signed it himself and then put it on TCG Player
Like
to
put
sell.
his fucking name on his lunchbox or something. He signs his shit. Like how your mom makes you put your name on your underwear. Like he just signs all of his cards so he doesn't lose them.
All right. Well, I think that's it. So,
Yeah, no,
what's
this
the
was
sign
fun.
off?
Well,
Do you guys have a stuff or anything?
Josh usually does our sign off, but since he is not here right now, as we all know, the best part about Magic is the gathering. So thank you to everyone who decided to join with us here today, tonight, whenever you listen to this. Just kind of listen to just three people just kind of just wax romantic about times of old and just kind of just hang out and talk about Magic for an hour or so. So thank y'all. We'll see y'all next week.